Hey, Ree Rodriguez here. And on today's episode, we have a really special guest with us, Mr. Chaz Wolfe. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Most definitely, Chaz. I'm really excited to hear about the show topic today of how to use events to create VIP client relationships. I know you're really big on building relationships.
Yeah, it is the factor that if I look back, if I had just focused on it earlier, I think I'd probably be a whole lot further than I am, although I'm pretty excited about where I am.
Excellent, man. And for our audience who maybe are just hearing about you for the first time now, I want to give a couple bio points for you on your background, your experience, your credibility, so people know, hey, this is a guy I want to really lean in and tune into, listen to the whole show. One of the things I appreciate about your background, I know you'll expand more on this, but you grew up the single mom, didn't have a whole lot growing up as a kid, and you use that to fuel your drive. And you went on to become a serial entrepreneur, building multiple seven-figure businesses along the way. You even helped Grant Cardone launch a business back in 2019 for a while, building out his sales division. And you currently now run your own training education companies, doing events, I think Gathering of the King Mastermind you have, and you do your own VIP events now as well.
That's right. Yeah, it's been a journey, but yeah, everything from sales to operations to physical locations to team building to education to retail, real estate. I've done a lot in the last handful of years, but I'm excited about that. It keeps me engaged.
Absolutely. It keeps you looking young too. You look like you're
well, you don't get to see the grays. I pluck them.
Yeah. So Chaz, tell us a little bit about your story. I gave a couple of bio points there, but I'd love to have you tell your beginnings and what brought you into being an entrepreneur, eventually what brought you into doing events and building VIP relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that opportunity. Yeah, the entrepreneur blood, if you will, has been in me from the beginning. Grew up single mom family, as you mentioned, just my mom and my sister and I. Outside of that, my grandma, my aunt, her three girls, and it was like just me, like a bunch of women and me, which is hilarious now because the majority of my employees now, my team members are women. So it's a fun correlation that I've brought into business, but the reality of it is that I've always been a hustler. My mom worked 2 and 3 jobs, and work ethic and discipline. And hey, if you're going to get something, it's up to you, nobody else. You're not going to be served anything. And so that's just the outlook I've taken on life, business. Bought my first business. It was a franchise in 2012, 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago. And have since built 10 companies since. I've had to close a couple. I've sold a couple. I've started ones fresh. I've bought ones that were already existing. As you had mentioned, worked with Grant Cardone and Frank Kern on developing an ad agency. That was for about a year in South Florida at the 10X headquarters. All that was a crazy experience. And of course, inside of my own mastermind group now, where we bring 7 and 8, even 9-figure business owners together in a mastermind setting, and we're creating moments, right, where entrepreneurs can really press into each other and really help each other through this thing that we call business, life, journey, all the things that are associated to that for most of us. Outside of that, even family and community and all the things that are on our plates that tend to weigh us down. That's what we discuss at this point. So yeah, I'm really excited about what we got going on. I didn't even mention 3 of my real estate companies, but the reality there, real estate for me is legacy. I've got 2 purposes, if you will. Legacy for my family is huge. I know that by the process of purchasing real estate and developing processes around buying and holding assets is going to be something that my children's children can do and learn and continue on. And then my other thing is to be able to pour into people, really create business disciples. And that's where Gathering the Kings, for me, as a selfish fulfillment, I get to really pour into other entrepreneurs, and it fills my cup, man. So I'm excited.
That's really cool, man. Excited to hear that as well. And which brings us to our show topic today, right? You've been running this mastermind, Gathering the Kings, and you do events, and you do them quite regularly. In fact, I think you have one coming up, don't you?
We do. Yeah. We do virtual and in-person events, actually. And so it was something that was really important to me when I created this. There's some only virtual, there's some only in person. I don't know of a bunch doing a little bit of both. And so to me, when I looked at today's way people live, way I live in 2022, obviously because of COVID and several other things that pushed us right here to Zoom doing this podcast right now, I just wanted to relate to people like me, the average Joe who had been successful in business. There's nothing special about me, but I've done some special things, which is cool. And there's plenty of other people who have a $1 million business, an $8 million business, a $15 million HVAC business, or whatever it is, that in their community, maybe they're looked at as maybe a successful business owner, but nobody else knows. And I wanted to gather those people together, those kings, so that we could create a community of not only just relationship, we'll get to that, I'm sure, but there's community and there's strategy and there's ideas and accountability. And there's a feeling that you get when you're running with someone who's as fast or faster than you. What happens is that you start to run faster. And if you don't, you fall off. And so what happens with high performing entrepreneurs is they don't fall off. They just figure out how to run faster. And it's pretty cool when you got a pack of guys around you, or we got a couple of queens in the group too, but who are just good at keeping pace. And man, it makes you move a whole lot faster and get a whole lot more done and reach for the potential more than just being by yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. I was thinking like a pressure cooker when you have everybody around you moving in the same direction, everyone gets better, right?
Yeah, 100%.
There's a quote that I learned from Tony Robbins says, you are who you surround yourself with, like the peer group, basically, that you surround yourself with the standards of the peer group. So I can see how you've created a really awesome group of men and also some women who push each other forward. Yeah. So yeah, you mentioned you had an event and this is a super VIP event, like you're having 40 plus people over to your home.
Yeah.
So very intimate, not a hotel room, like in your house with your family, probably. Share with us a little bit about how you're crafting that event, or maybe how you've done prior events to create those VIP relationships.
Yeah. And so I think the relationship word is, that's what we discussed before hitting the record button. It's really the most important thing, I think, that is in business, but let alone when we're talking about specifically about an event. Okay. So through this event, what am I trying to accomplish? Of course, with a mastermind model, there's a retention, right? Like I want people to get value so that they stay, right? That's the sales component. There is value, right? I want to deliver what I've already sold. I want them to walk away changed and inspired and giving them tactical things, even new connections and relationships of other people they haven't met yet. There's those practicals that I want to deliver in, let's say, this upcoming event. But more than any of those, I want, when they think of the relationship, not only with Chaz Wolfe, but then with the relationships that they have with the other folks in the group, to mean more than just, oh yeah, I signed up for that thing, right? The difference between I signed up for that thing and this is how I do business is the relationship. It's the community piece. So for me, when I think of structuring this event, right, not only, yes, I'm having them to my house. Yeah, I got kind of a cool house. We just built it. It's a beautiful place, but it's not a $15 million, should be on MTV Cribs. So it's not like I'm having them here to necessarily impress them, although I have a pretty nice elk that I shot a couple of years ago right over here that I think that would be pretty impressive. But outside of that, really, I haven't done anything super special necessarily. But to me, my home represents, like you said, intimacy or closeness, or the ability for them to see maybe behind the Zoom screen. They've seen me on the podcast, or they've seen my website, or of course, if they're in the membership, in the group, they've seen me in our virtual events and they've gotten to know me a little bit, or we've been texting back and forth, but do they really know me? They're wondering, who is this guy? So specifically, I'm having it at my house. They can see pictures of my family. They can come to my office. They can literally walk in here and go, okay, oh, so that's the backdrop. Okay, that's how you change the colors on the lights. And oh yeah, I see those signs up there. I've seen those every time that you get on the screen. Like, it makes it real. It makes me real. That's what relationship is. And so, of course, there's then the relationship factor of the other people, right? Like, we've been on Zoom, we've been doing some virtual hot seats and some business tactics and trainings and strategies along the way. And I got a lot from that guy, but I haven't physically like bro hugged that dude. And so when I get to see this guy in person, there's this impact of relationship. And yeah, there's potentially some retention that's going to come out of that, right? There's some potentially maybe some other products that we have that maybe these guys want to buy from us. But I just do not go into an event with that mindset. So hopefully that gives you a layer. I'm going to have you maybe dive into some other questions, but that it is all about the relationship first for me.
Yeah, 100% makes sense. And when you say VIP relationships, I think of raving fans, right? Is the people that stay and they keep coming back, right?
Yeah.
Long-term clients, long-term customers, right? And maintaining that. I'm curious, what are some of the things specifically that you do maybe before an event to set yourself up to create that VIP relationship experience when they get there? What are some of the things maybe you do ahead of time?
Yeah, I think, okay, so you're going to learn, especially if you and I get to know each other better. My first answer to everything is always going to be mindset first. And so my mindset going into an event is, have we done the things necessary to be excellent, right? So I value excellency probably above else. It doesn't mean perfection. It means, are we going to deliver? What have we set up the details? Is the room properly set up? What's in the room? What's the smell of the room? What's around the room? How, again, does it offer the opportunity for them to see me or to meet other people? Or are we facilitating what it is that we're actually trying to deliver, which in this case is relationship? Of course, other things beyond that, but I'm always thinking excellent first, like mindset. Have we checked the list? Have we been intentional about the space, about the time together, about the agenda, about who's speaking, about the interactions? Like, I want to be super intentional about those things from an accuracy. So me and my team, it's like obsessing over the agenda and the prep work and who's doing what at what time and handoffs. It doesn't have to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. But for me, what this allows is that if I obsess over the accuracy up ahead, then when the event comes, then I can be in the event. I don't need to be worried about like this detail or that detail, which again is mindset, really, because how am I going to be able to develop relationships if I'm stuck in my head about, oh, that thing over there isn't going right. Oh, no, I'm pissed. Like I don't allow that mindset to happen, because when the day of the event comes, what's most important to me, I've already said it, it's the relationship. So even if something isn't going the way that we've described, or that isn't the best, of course, we'll try to fix it. But my mindset day of switches immediately from accuracy and prep and being intentional about space and detail to just be you. It's relationship time, because to me, that's what's most important.
Yeah, what I'm hearing you say is because you put in so much intentionality around the preparation, it allows you come the time of the event just to drop in and focus on building relationships, not worrying about details and what's going to happen when, all of that. It's already
100%. And I liken it to this. What's a big event that we all go through? Wedding, right? Not all of us yet, but for me, one of the biggest events of my life, when I married my best friend. So when I think about that day, right? When you think about the horror stories of Godzilla, or not Godzilla, Bridezilla, and all the things that can go wrong, and the hair and the dress, and one of the groomsmen doesn't show up on time, all the things. And it's okay. So you fervently, intentionally, with excellence, plan. You're not lacking, you're not slacking, you're not behind, you're detailed, you're accurate, and you're fervent about getting it done. But then when the time comes, it's, look, today's your day. Nothing matters today outside of my wife and I, or in this case, it was my fiance. And then we got married, and so now it's my wife. It's nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. Not one detail, not if something got forgotten, or if a light isn't on, or if the wrong food came. It's her in her dress walking down the aisle. And for her, it's having everybody there to celebrate with her. That's it. So for me, I just take that same mindset into any event that we've done, specifically these VIP events that we do inside the Mastermind, because for me, it's not about necessarily the next sale. There are people, I've worked for some of them, who it's just all about the next number. And I have a 20-year history of sales. I know that there is a sales component to the event. I need a certain number of people to come, right? I need to be able to get myself in front of a certain number of people. That's going to create a certain number of opportunities. Those opportunities are going to turn into phone calls. The phone calls are going to turn into sales, or whatever that funnel looks like for you and your business. But the reality of it is, for me, is that I don't need 500 or 500,000 or 5 million. I just need to be, I personally want to be really intentional with these. And then we'll add some more, and then we'll add some more. And that's fine. Whatever the scalability or the targets are that you have in your business, whether you're doing an event for 50 people or an event for 5,000 people, to me, it's the same mindset. It's just, you just have a bigger team to be intentional. At least when I'm going to do an event for 5,000 people, it's going to be the same exact mindset. We're going to have the same exact intentionality. My team will be big enough to serve that number of people, if I can say that.
Yeah, it makes sense. I like the metaphor of the wedding, right? Everything goes into it, but come the day of the wedding, it's just about the bride.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Yeah, not sweat anything else. Yeah, that's cool. So there you are at the event. You've done a lot of the prep work ahead of time.
Yep.
And you're dropping in and you're being with your clients. You're going to have 40 plus people there in your home soon. Maybe can you speak to some of the things that you intentionally do to make sure that you're able to drop in and build those relationships? And I imagine 40 people, that's quite a lot of people to build VIP relationships with. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah. Again, so this is the style of event, is that these are people who know me, or whether they know me for a month or two, or whether they've known me for almost a year now. They're people who know me. So I've had previous opportunity, right? So for me, I see this event as an extension of the relationship. So it's not like I'm trying to build 40 relationships at this event. I'm extending the relationship of 40 clients at this event. If the event were the first interaction that I would have with these people, then I'm not going to try to have some of the conversations that I'm going to have upcoming in November that I'm going to have. It's going to be different. It's going to be, in marketing terms, top of funnel, right? If this person's coming to an event of mine and they've never met me, this is the first time that they've heard me, then the way I see that from a relationship perspective is that it's the beginning of the relationship. And so it's my job for this 10 minutes or this 10 hours, however many days we've got together at this event, to make sure that I can take the relationship as far as I can towards trust, towards likability, like not only just them liking me, but us being likable to each other. Are we like-minded? Can I help them? Can they help me? One of the very first things we popped on here, I popped onto your show and I was like, dude, you do XYZ. That's great. I think I might need you. I am all about collaboration. And if we can mine those things together in an event, whether it's the first time I'm meeting this person, or in this case, in November, it's the 17th time I've met this person, I'm going to extend the relationship. So the tactics of remembering where I was in the conversation with the person last month, or at the last event that we had, or last week's connection call, or whatever, I'm going to pick up from where I left off because I actually care about the person. I know that sounds like really simple, but to me, when it's just about the relationship and nothing else is really like the priority, you care about them. That's just what it means, is that you see them as a person, you remember the conversation, and you continue it further. And when you do that, especially in today's environment, because buyers are educated and they know that you probably have something to sell to them. When people come onto my podcast, they know I have a mastermind. I mail them something that says, thanks for coming onto my podcast. And on the back, it talks about my mastermind, right? So they know it. The website that they go to check out my podcast is linked to the mastermind, right? But I'm not selling my mastermind on my podcast. I'm beginning a relationship. Sometimes those relationships turn into a mastermind member. Sometimes they turn into someone that I do a real estate deal with. Sometimes I've connected podcast guests. I'm just trying to add value via relationship.
Yeah, it makes sense. Look for ways to add value first. I'm curious, as you drop in with people and you look for ways to further the relationship as far as possible at your VIP events, do you have any kind of, because you seem like a pretty systems driven type of guy, process, system, that kind of thing. Do you have any, and you say, remember the conversation, any kind of process that you use to mnemonic to remember people's names, remember the conversation, remember what you said you're going to help them do?
Yeah.
How far, how do you go about maintaining that for 40 people?
Yeah, it's a good question. Although I chuckle because I think it's only 40 people. First off, anybody who's been in sales, who's managed any sort of pipeline, I used to make hundreds of cold calls a day. And so not only system wise, you take notes, right? Be a student, be an actual business owner. Okay. So if I discussed something particular with someone that I need to remember, then I should take note of that. Now, if you're just smart enough to remember it all, great, good for you. But CRMs, obviously having a team in place, all of our virtual events, this happens in person too, but it happens even better in virtual. We have a roundtable every single month. Every member comes onto Zoom. We'll have 30, 40 members on a Zoom call, and we split people into individual rooms. We do hot seats. There's accountability. All this stuff is happening all at once. But I've got team members strategically put into the meeting, and they're taking notes, right? I say to you that, hey, I know somebody, right? I know I used to work with a guy that does events. I need to connect him to you, right? And rather than me trying to remember that, I have a team member that is not only writing that down for the things that I say, but for everybody in the group. And then we send that out to everybody. It's, hey, Chaz said he was going to send Steve so-and-so to John. And we record keep and document all of that. And then we give it to the members. Like, hey, just remember, not only did this happen, the value actually happened, but now actually go follow up and do the thing that you said you were going to do or that you wanted to do, because implementation is the other half of that system. You got to have the system, but then the implementation of it was the action step, if that makes sense.
Definitely. Yeah. So I'm hearing you say you have a dedicated team member whose job is to listen for this, take the note, listen for what the promise, the deliverable is, and make sure that it gets delivered and that you can check in with that person as well. 100%.
There'll be the same thing at the event here at my home in November. I will have multiple team members here. They'll have different roles and they'll be speaking about different things. Like I try to empower my team to give their value, but they'll also be taking note. We all will, of
Mhm.
Who said what, who helped who. I loved our event that we had in June. We went to South Florida. I rented a suite on the 23rd floor of some beautiful building. Got to see the whole entire beach and ocean. Again, close, intimate, purposeful, intentional. We had food and there was enough room for people to lounge, but yet it was full of people. Anyway, at this event, I overheard two other business owners. These guys are big business owners, right? And they're talking to each other. It has nothing to do with me, about a call that they had outside of the mastermind. So they were on a roundtable together a couple months before they met. And then outside of any of our events, they got on a call and started talking about some systems and a software that one guy uses. The other guy was telling him in our event, hey, I implemented that thing. And dude, it's changed a bunch for us. Our clients love it. Our team love thanks. And I overheard that, right? Not only was that good for me to know as the facilitator of, okay, this mastermind idea is working. It doesn't have to be just associated just to Chaz, right? But because we are purposeful about taking note of what's happening, then that allows me to not only tell the story here today, but it allows me to press into whatever that is for other people in the group as well. Hey, did Landon learn from John XYZ? Maybe you should go talk to John as well, or something different but similar with someone else in the group. Hopefully that makes sense, but it's about intentionality, the relationship. I'm going to bring it back to that every single time.
No, for sure, Ben. Makes a lot of sense. That's a good, I think, takeaway for our listeners is having a plan so that you can capture that information and action it and document that value, make sure it gets followed through. I'm curious to hear, are there any maybe specific exercises that you do or things that you facilitate at your events to foster those VIP relationships or continue to build those relationships?
Yeah. So for us specifically, we know that if we can help our members make a connection, make a decision, make more money, or make more time or leverage their time, if we can help them do one or two or three of those four things, then I've done my job successfully as an exchange of value. They pay me for the opportunity to be in the group. I deliver some sort of value. That's what the value is. And I would say that the answer would be to facilitate one of those things. And so I'm always asking myself, okay, where are we at? Has Lance gotten one of these four things yet? Yep, I know he's gotten that one. Okay, so let's start working on the other one, right? So if my team knows this is the guiding force, if you will, let's start checking the boxes. How do we deliver that for that person? And so again, relationship, knowing what they need in their business. We've got different businesses, different industries, different across the country. So it's every single business and business owner has a little bit different need. Again, that's where relationship and intentionality comes in and going, okay, how do we check these four boxes for everybody? We're not going to check all four of them for everybody, but if we can be purposeful about looking for the next opportunity to connect him with someone else, or make the opportunity where we had one of our business owners, the smallest of his businesses, he has multiple, it was a family business. Been in business 38 years. His parents started it. Super nostalgic. Like it's the family thing. It was the smallest business, the lowest margin, the most headache. And he's just overwhelmed by it. And the overwhelming feedback that he got from the group was, if it wasn't your parents, you'd shut it down 2 years ago. So he shut it down. Like, what a decision that you have to make. So anyway, I'm just giving you some examples, but we're just helping people check the box of, are they actually getting the value that we told them that they were going to get? Great. Let's take note of it and let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, what were those four again? I got to leverage more time, make a connection, or make a decision. What was the fourth one?
Yeah, make more money, grow your business. And so it's actually, we formulated that into a guarantee. If you don't get one of those four things, then you don't pay. And so luckily we had a bunch of people sign up in my initial crew who just trusted me more than anything, which has been amazing. But since then, we've developed some better systems, just like every business out there, every event, we can use the same thing. This next event is going to be better than the last one because I learned, we took note. I want to do things in a better way. I want to provide more value. We talked about off air. Like I've been doing these VIP, like really close knit. Okay, fine. But next year we're going to do an open event here in Kansas City for entrepreneurs that aren't members of our masterminds. I'm going to have to take a slightly different approach. But again, I can guarantee you relationships are going to be how I design that event too, even though they're not members yet, because I think it's the beginning of the relationship. And if my intention is to help them, to me, it's going to be about the relationship.
100%. Makes sense. Appreciate you sharing that. Thank you.
Man.
What about post-event? You delivered the event, you fulfilled on one, or if not more than maybe all four of these four key promises, and people are going home now. Like, are there any things that you do post-event to really solidify that VIP relationship or potentially retain them into your program or enroll them into another program? And can you talk to us a little bit about your post-event strategy?
Yeah. Again, the word's going to be intentional. And I've sent thank you cards, handwritten thank you cards from me. I have followed up with texts around, hey, we talked about this. How's that going? My team does that. We basically take note of accountability commitments, and then my team follows up with these guys like, hey, how you doing? Do you need help with this? So it's like very intentional on keeping what they said was important in front of them, having us be that tool to stay in front of them. So that could be via note, via text, via email. We've mailed, we send out packages. I have a workbook that they get every single quarter. So that could be timed with after the event, and we write a note in the book. We've been intentional about just even merchandise, hats, stuff like that. Like just being intentional about creating an opportunity, a touch point to say, thanks for coming, or, hey, this was something that you told me that was important. Are you doing it? Because that's the value for us. That's the business that we're in with as a mastermind. I know there's probably different people listening here that run different types of events, but my service is helping them become the best version of themselves and in their business. And so a lot of that has to do with running alongside of them. So being intentional, thanking them, but then being specific about, hey, so you mentioned at the group in that breakout session that XYZ was happening with that one guy in your business. Have you had that tough conversation yet? Do you need some help around that? Again, remembering, taking note, following up. Seems pretty simple, but that's a lot of what we do.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's a big touch, the post-event note or just follow up, letting them know, checking on where they're at based on what they said they were committing to.
One thing I'll say about post-event that I've learned that I can't say on air here because I have some surprises up the sleeve for my team. But one thing that I've learned is that my team I need to be intentional about that relationship, right? Because we just went through this event and it was like awesome. But it took a lot of focus on the front end. And then we were in the event and providing value, and it takes energy and focus. And after the event, I've learned that there has to be some intentionality or some gratefulness, some time, some, I don't want to say too much more because I don't want to give away my upcoming secrets for my team, but in all seriousness, just some thanks, some gratitude and some space and some rest for your team, because man, if they help you pull off an amazing event, then they're deserving.
Definitely got to take care of the people who take care of you.
Yeah, 100%. That seems so simple. All this stuff seems so simple, man, but most people just don't do it. When I worked for Grant Cardone, I can remember going to a boot camp. We were there early, there late. We were hustling the 10X culture. And then Monday morning, 7 a.m. was our sales meeting. And I'm not saying that to not do that. I'm just saying that there was way less intentionality behind relationship. It was way more of if you're not willing to do it, I'll just find somebody else. That's his style. Fine. Not mine. Not my style at all. I value the person in front of me. I see the person in front of me. Again, not bad, just different. I just didn't operate well in that environment because of that.
Yeah, makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. And for you personally, Chaz, what would you say is a goal that you're working towards in your business or your life? What's the next mountaintop that you're climbing right now?
Yeah, man. The big number for us is we want 1,000 members. We want 1,000 members of our mastermind. And I think that for us, that's like, it's just a stepping stone. Maybe one day we'll have 10,000. I don't know. But for us, that seems really big right now. But we're excited about that. And we know it's possible. We like know without a shadow of a doubt, it's definiteness of purpose. We're locked in on it. We don't know exactly the time frame, of course, on that, just because things change all the time. But that's the number. We've got it dialed in. We've got plans around it. Hopefully some strategy that can work.
Very cool. Do you have a date in mind for when you're hitting that goal?
Yes. So I work interestingly with goals. I'm a big goal guy. And so I like to give myself worst case scenario and best case scenario, because when I lock myself in, I say, okay, let's say it's 5 years. That's my worst case scenario, five years, or 2027, we got 1,000 members. But then I immediately think that's a limiting belief. You know what I mean? I'm literally putting a limit on my own ability. And so I go, I don't like that. But it's probably strategically when I map it all out. And if we're going to add this many, if we're going to be intentional, 1,000 people, geez, how can you build 1,000 relationships, Chaz? My team's going to have to look a little different than it does today. So I have other people like me who care about their relationship and actually helping people. So that's going to take time to build, right? Something sustainable doesn't happen overnight. So for me to be flip it and say, oh, we're going to do it next year, that's not me. But at the same time, I leave that possibility open because I like to run hard.
Fair enough. Cool, man. Thanks for sharing. And Chad, as we wrap up our interview here, what's the best way for members to reach out to you if they want to learn more about you and working with you?
Yeah, gatheringthekings.com is a great place. Obviously, chazwolfe.com. You can learn some additional personal information about me as well. But yeah, we're a Facebook, we're LinkedIn, we're Instagram, TikTok, all those places. And so we just appreciate the ability to connect with people. We understand that we're not the right spot for every business owner, and that's okay. We're totally okay with that. We know that like-mindedness is extremely important. I've got lots of guys that come through the podcast and I love them to death, and there's no invite. And that's okay, because we don't have to be a right fit for everybody. So we're gathering the kings on purpose. That name's pretty intentional.
I love the name. Yeah. So if you found a lot of value from Chaz today, you want to learn more, go to his website, gatheringthekeys.com, or Chaz Wolfe as well.com. And we'll make sure we put that in our show notes as well, so people will be able to see that. The website's right there.
Beautiful.
So
appreciate it.
Chaz, thanks for being a great guest on our show today. I really appreciate you. And as we wrap up, do you have any closing comments for our audience?
Yeah, man, I would say that whether it's events or just growing your business, obviously what we're talking about is just a strategy, and mindset. It goes before strategy. They're both. We talk strategy in the mastermind all the time. I love ideas. I love strategy. I will literally do it for hours. You want to hit the pause button and let's talk and talk. If I had the time on the calendar, I would do it. Like literally, it's my superpower. I love it. But mindset comes first. And for me, the mindset around relationship has to be dialed in. And that's what I hope to have conveyed here today, is that if you're in the event business, or you're trying to use events for your business, it means you're in the people business. And if you're in the people business, and if you just care about people, that will come through your event if you're actually about people.
That's a wrap, man. That's great. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right.